Morning! I guess the Weather Channel was not joking about their dense fog advisory.
Regardless of the weather, today is the start of a very big day on our farm and hopefully a very important week in the grand scheme of things of our farming operation.
Hey, keep it to yourself!
Oh man, hecklers in the YouTube comments, hecklers in the trees. I can't go anywhere without getting harassed. I'm just teasing. Most of you guys are pretty good. I don't know about all of you. I would rather have a bunch of crows in the yard than pigeons. Crows, although maybe not the best for your other bird species, are not winged rats like pigeons are.
Let's kick today off with our first order of business.
The crew over at Brunt Workwear sent me over a pair of boots to try.
It's almost as if the boots I've been wearing all harvest are not only on their last leg, but also an extreme safety hazard.
I believe this model of boots is called the Perkins.
This is my preferred style of work boots, high top lace-ups with some kind of toe protection. In this case, we got some composite toes. And if you've not heard or seen at this point, the brand is Brunt Workwear. Looks like they make some very high quality products.
I've been waiting to get rid of these for months.
New boot goofing! Ah, genuine ostrich. 3 payments.
Sayonara!
That was just for theatrical effect.
I'm like a brand new man this morning. New haircut, new boots, and I even went to the gym this morning for the first time in like 2 months, which was long overdue. Again, big shout out to the crew over at Brunt Workwear. I'm not gonna give my final judgment on these boots until I have a month on them or so, just so I can tell you whether or not I like them. Alrighty, that's enough tomfoolery this morning. We'll go do what you're all here for, farming. Cause it sure ain't my dashing good looks.
You want to talk about something frightening?
Rumor has it that there is a possible diesel fuel shortage in the United States. However, if you can't tell by now, my videos lag quite a bit behind. Today is November 1st. By the time you see this, there could be a diesel fuel surplus. You gonna give us good luck today?
Figure we might as well come in and check on our next of kin for mouse hunters. No surprise, they're adorable. There's no reason to be camera shy.
Tough crowd in there.
A couple of days ago, Dad and I hooked back up this inline ripper, hoping to maybe cover a couple hundred acres with it when the ground dries up.
Our tillage system this year didn't exactly follow the template I had in my mind when we hooked everything up this fall, but we got most of our ground covered. We do need to wait on some of this moisture to dry up a little bit. Ground's a tad bit soft. I would like to incorporate this into more soybean stubble. That may involve cutting back on our use of anhydrous ammonia. Like I said, our major concern with this inline ripper is the amount of topsoil disturbance. Although that's not an issue for springtime and field cultivating, it is a possible hurdle for an anhydrous bar to go across the ground without either making a mess, breaking things, rattling the operator's brains out, and most importantly, losing your anhydrous ammonia, the gaseous product, because the berms aren't able to form.
It is like dangerously foggy outside right now.
Spooky tillage.
You know, I just don't think that is a good spot to leave a broken U-bolt. It's hard to find good help.
I can almost guarantee you that this came off of the rolling basket on the disc ripper, and it was in fact the work of Marty. If the fog doesn't lift anytime soon, we're gonna have difficulties accomplishing any kind of tillage today. Not that it was guaranteed in the first place.
Case in point, the ground is still a little wet anyways. Might as well at least do something productive.
You guys are messy. There's only one group of people who like a messy cab, and that is mice. That's good enough for now. We like to supplement our cleaning with these rodent repellent perfume packets. I don't know if they actually help at all, but they make us feel a little bit better about our mice defenses. No need to worry anyone. It is Tuesday at 10 a.m. It's time for the monthly tornado siren test. Although we're not out of the woods yet for this time of year, because last year in December we did get that big tornado that caused some damage on some of our farms.
It would actually be a terrifying day to know there's a tornado coming your direction, seeing as you can't even see farther than 100 yards.
The S780 is the only other machine in the barn that I think is pressing at this point in time to get the floor cleaned out of a little bit. The 670 is not here, it's still at the John Deere dealership. Typically, your rule of thumb is the longer your combine is at the dealership, the more expensive the repair bill is going to be. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the inner workings of a combine, 5-speed feeder house drive is an ancient Germanic term for lots of money.
One pretty simple conclusion that we can draw is that the combines and tractors are much cleaner at the tail end of this harvest season than the last one. The inside of the cab is cleaner than it was a second ago. The roof leaves room for improvement.
That, my friends, though, is a job for the power washer.
These little Milwaukee cordless shop vacs are actually pretty slick for cleaning out the inside of the cab, and they're so convenient that I really don't have any excuses for letting the cabs get dirty in the first place. Let's talk about this bad boy, our S780 combine that we put 264 engine hours on this year. Unlike its predecessor, this thing has been extremely reliable, almost to a fault.
The only aspects that really could be done to improve this are on management, not on the machine. We could use a 12-row corn head to pick corn more efficiently, have a better average productivity, and a fuel trailer would probably help us in our overall day-to-day refueling practices. I'm not saying that it wouldn't help to have a wider draper for cutting soybeans. I don't know that that is really going to have a massive impact on our overall average productivity. In 264 hours, this thing has had 2 problems.
Problem 1 was the bolt missing on the engine bay door handle.
I know. Tarnishing the reputation of John Deere, one little issue at a time, that's like a deal breaker for this combine. I'm totally kidding. This thing is practically a saint compared to our previous S780.
I did notice something a little bit more considerable when I popped the shields off the other day to blow out the combine. See that belt right there on that big black pulley? It's actually not seated correctly. That belt is pretty important, not that there aren't any belts on here that are expendable, but that runs the chopper drive on the back. For a reason that we don't currently know, and it could just be a crazy coincidence, this belt that drives the chopper has hopped up out of its grooves in the pulley, and it's actually riding about half off. Obviously, there's the possibility of something being out of alignment somewhere. It didn't seem like that all season. It ran fine. Could have been like this since we got it, although I find that unlikely because running like this will deteriorate the belt quicker if it doesn't just end up jumping off all the way on its own. Other than that very, very small issue that happened after the season and didn't cause us any downtime, this machine has been phenomenal.
For those of you that need a refresher of our combine last year, we dealt with blown hydraulic lines, a bad hydraulic pump. They replace the Pro Drive motor in the bottom that drives the combine down the road. Involved pulling it off on a wrecker and taking it to the shop for a week. That was no fun for a combine with 30 hours. We also had loose lug nuts on the rear wheels. Could be on us, could be on the dealership, I don't know. Then there were some sensors unplugged, and then just a variety of hydraulic and electrical issues throughout the season, a lot of which, by the time we were done, were not really prevalent anymore. Regardless of how major or minor the problems were, you want a reliable combine to harvest your crop, especially when you pay as much as you do for one of these John Deere combines.
After our fiasco with every single issue on last year's combine, it was a no-brainer for us to roll into a new model. Obviously, there is a decent price tag with making a 1-year transition. This year, we are a little less motivated to do so because this has been such a good machine.
That's not surprising, and I can't really pinpoint the phenomena. I know it does exist, where you can get one machine off the line one day that is just incredible, reliable, everything works great for 10 years without any major issues, and you can have one right after it that is nothing but troublesome from day one, almost a lemon like we had last year.
That's not to say that we aren't at least considering the possibility of rolling our main combine into another new one purely for financial reasons. I am somewhat hesitant because this has been such a good machine. I like to keep it here on the farm.
Speaking of issues that should not happen, 200 hours on this 9620R, not even actually, like 180, the alternator went out. They had to come put a whole new alternator in this thing. Where is the reliability in a modern machine? You spend all of this money. These are very comparable in price, actually, the combines, a tad bit more. But you would think for $500,000, you would get something that you can depend on day in and day out without any kind of issues. I don't know if that's a commentary on John Deere or manufacturing as a whole. It just seems like machines, tractors, planters, combines aren't nearly as reliable as they were 10 to 15 years ago. That or I just have a very short memory. Could be both.
Oh, that is so much better. There's the sun.
Even in the presence of a very reliable machine, it does seem like across the board, regardless of manufacturer, that the prices of new equipment is just getting egregious. I know as long as the US tax code does favor farmers trading equipment, taking use of their Section 179 depreciation, and reducing some of their actual cash income, it will make people trade. I do think, though, that with the equipment market, it almost makes sense to stop trading, start building bins, start laying more tile, and of course build a shop so you can work on your used equipment, save money, and keep everything rolling smoother. I know some of you probably just chuckled because I rolled that off my tongue like it's an extremely cheap venture. All of those upgrades would require a large amount of capital, or at least a large amount of financial leverage from a bank. That being said, I do think there is a place in the future for farms who can be more efficient with their assets and maybe not rely as much on the warranties and massaging seats of the new equipment.
Just to really hit you guys with some numbers, that S780 we have parked in the barn does not do anything more than an S680 could have done maybe 10 years ago, and it's $200,000 more.
In my humble opinion, they've not added enough features to justify the increase in price tag that they continue to tack onto this equipment, especially the combines. Yeah, that thing may have a leather heated seat, has some cameras in the grain handling system that show you your sample, which is neat, but is it financially viable? Probably not at all. A good combine operator does not need that. It's all been ergonomics and fluff that they've added. There's been no gain in productivity year after year on those machines.
Based on the ground conditions I'm seeing, it may have been wishful thinking to try and do tillage today. Let's move on to the real excitement in today's video.
One of our local banks has a little bit over 200 acres for sale in 5 different tracts that coincidentally happens to fall within a mile of some farms that our family already owns.
Needless to say, multiple members of our family are very interested in buying some of these parcels at auction. There is a 20-acre tract right there. There is a 60-acre dogleg tract right here. I will say that this lane leaves a little bit to be desired. And there is an 80-acre tract right here. They're all pretty much adjacent to each other. There is a 40 to the north, about a mile and a half. That's also supreme quality dirt. If you can't tell by looking, this is some very high productivity ground, and you can see that is our bin site right up there.
As a prospective bidder on this auction, I hope it goes for sub $15,000 per acre. However, there is a lot of family farms in the area with presumably healthy balance sheets. I could see it going anywhere from $15,000 to $18,000 an acre, depending on the tract and who wants to buy it. Folks, you do have to keep in mind that regardless of whether or not it makes sense from a cash flow perspective, something is worth what others are willing to pay for it, and that's exactly what an auction sets out to determine. Could go lower than we're expecting, although the land market has been extremely strong, which I will talk about later in the video. We are going to go ahead and run over to the auction. I'm not going to leave the camera on, and we're going to see if we can buy some farms.
Huh, looks like someone's mudding some corn out today. There's a real meeting of the minds here in the road. Move over.
I'm reporting back in this morning with news from the battleground. Although we were active bidders on 4 out of 5 of the tracts, we didn't end up winning any of the final bids. Obviously that means that the counter bidders just wanted it more than we did because it was a winner's choice auction, so whoever had the top bid could take one or some or even all of the tracts if they wanted. The particular tract that I was interested in, the 40 with the highest quality of ground, it was like a 143 out of a 144 for productivity index. That'd be like a 99.5 out of 100 if you had it on a pure 100-point scale. It went for a little over $17,000 per acre. A little bit steep for my taste, although I don't think that that's an unreasonable price given commodity prices, inflation, and the long-term supply and demand picture of land. As any good auctioneer would tell you why they're trying to run up the price on the auction, they don't make land every day. As a matter of fact, They don't make it at all anymore. And that's really the long-term picture with people investing in land. Like I've already said, the 40 went for a little over 17,000 per acre. The following 3 tracts, which were pretty close in quality, although marginally lower, they went for a little over 15.3 or 15.4 an acre. And then the last tract had some woods, went for like 10,000. It's not really all tillable, so that kind of makes sense. Like I've already said, I don't think that the prices are unreasonable for the given market environment. It's not about what happens in the next 5 to 10 years with most farmland buyers. They are not looking to offload their portfolio very quickly. It's really about the long-term unknown. Where do we see inflation go? Everything appreciating over the next 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years maybe. That was the case for a lot of our ground when my family started buying way before I was alive, even my dad, for $1,500 or $2,000 per acre. It did not cash flow. It was not a financially smooth investment. The economics were not there for the asset to pay for the operating cost of servicing your debt and obviously growing a crop on the farm. But the long-term appreciation of that we did not see coming was pretty significant, and that does kind of make up for any premium you pay up front. I can tell you this though, if those parcels were touching around any of our main farm here, you would almost have to drag us out dead from the auction for us not to take them home. That's just the way farmer mentality is. If the parcel touches any of their main farms, they are going to do everything within their power to buy it. It's not just us. I know that would apply to many different operators out there farther away from home, although touching or relatively close to some other land that we have, not as motivating to buy. There is some incentive because of the proximity, but not that home field advantage. We're going to kick everyone's butt when it comes to bidding. I am genuinely curious what all your opinion is on land prices, where you're from, what everything's going for in your neck of the woods. It is interesting to see the diversity in farm economics across the Midwest and the United States as a whole, to see that really we're not the only ones suffering from appreciation in land prices and everything underneath that. That's just the nature of the beast right now. The inside of this tractor is clean. Now on to the outside. This tractor is still under warranty through like February, I believe. So once we get all this finished up, hopefully the next week or two, we'll run it into the local John Deere dealership and have them look it over and address any problems that exist that would be covered under the warranty. The only 2 issues that I know of is that hazard light right there does not work on the corner, and then the battery switch is being weird. It's not registering. The light's either shutting off too early, and subsequently I'm shutting the battery switch off, and when I start it up in the morning, it says I shut the switch off too early. That second one could definitely be on me. However, I really think that there's some kind of glitch going on, because once the tractor's off, I believe you hear the DEF pump, diesel exhaust fluid pump, running. And if you shut it off prematurely, they say that it can cause damage over time. I can probably say now that I am an official convert from the DeWalt fan club till Milwaukee. These red tools are something special. That is going to require some 5-fingered intervention. One thing that John Deere's done on these new 8R and 9R tractors that I really enjoy is the effort they've put into buttoning up the shields around the front to keep a bunch of corn stalks from getting into the engine compartment. Makes cleaning it out a lot easier. Time to do some power washing. It looks like this 8R tractor is not the only thing on the washing list this morning. I managed to get sidetracked and ended up washing off both drapers and not the 8R370, so I'm probably going to end up putting these away. I also seem to have developed some kind of a scent similar to that of which was on both drapers. I guess the combination of soybeans sitting out in the rain and some heat over a couple weeks develops an interesting fragrance. Let's go put these heads away. Hey, there's Bill and Stan picking corn. I believe that they're pretty close to done. They cover a lot of acres with one machine, which makes them a little bit slower than us. We're kind of over-equipped for what we farm. Here's our stop. Everything up until this point was the easy part. Now we gotta try and back these all-wheel steer carts into this shed. That's the hard part. Fairly normal for there to be a lot of pulling up and straightening out and getting realigned going backwards when you're doing this. And yes, I did switch shirts on my lunch break. Okay, the first one's kind of in a good spot. We didn't do as good of a job as I like, and I also gained a few gray hairs in the process.
Both the drapers are in the barn, but we're not winning any awards for most efficient parkers or anything like that.
I'm proud of the crew. We didn't curse as much as we normally do.
Actually turned out to be a fairly nice afternoon. I'm gonna finish cleaning this 8R370. Jeff's over to the east, vertical tilling some corn stalks, and Nutrien's running here behind the farm, putting on some anhydrous for us.
Another one bites the dust, or maybe another one has no dust. That sounds better.
One of these days we'll have a fancy wash bay in our shop. For now though, our muddy floor with rotten beans and corn will just have to do. To be honest with you, I almost like a tractor with a little bit of dirt on it more than I like one that's sparkling clean. They look nice and all, but a tractor's meant to be in use.
It seems as though changing shirts was a futile effort because I've already ruined another one for the day. That being said, I think that's going to be it for this video. That's more than enough farming action, and we've got a lot of more interesting things coming up in the pipeline. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode. Until then, make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love to talk about farming. Have a great day, everyone. Peace!